So for this family meeting, we're talking about character talks. And building positive values and character in our children is just a matter of using many different skills, from discouraging behavior that reflects negative values with the discipline skills that we learned in lesson 3 to really encouraging behavior that reflects positive ones. And we can do this in little ways throughout our everyday interactions with our children and through the examples that we set through our own words and actions. But the notion that values are caught, not taught, is only partly true. Group discussion can also be an effective way to really encourage those positive values. And so this lesson's family meeting is to discuss an aspect of character with your family. This is what we call a character talk. It's going to help you to understand and influence your child's developing beliefs and their values that underlie the development of their character. So topics can include anything that contributes to a person's character. So I'm going to show you a list in just a moment. So these tips are going to help you to get through your first talk and get it off to a good start. The first tip is to plan how you're going to introduce the topic and write down points that you want to cover. So starting a group discussion is often the most difficult part. It's helpful to plan, how you're going to introduce the subject. Topics for future talks might be chosen by different family members, and each might prepare their own introduction. But be sure to list important points that you want to make during the meeting so that you don't forget them. A simple introduction for your first talk might go something like, hey, we called this meeting because we want to take the time now and every now and then to talk about the topics that are important to all of us, topics that have to do with the kind of people we're becoming. And I say we because parents are still growing and changing too. And so the topic I've chosen for our first talk is courage. Then we want to ask open-ended questions to stimulate a discussion. Once you have introduced the topic, having a few good questions ready can help launch the discussion. So prepare these ahead of time and make sure that they are open-ended. That means that they can't just be answered with a simple yes or no. So a closed question might be, do you think courage is important? They're only going to answer yes or no to that. So an open-ended question might be, what are some ways that encouragement is important? A closed question would be, is fear always bad? And they're going to say yes or no. So some open-ended questions might be, when do you think fear might be a good thing? Or when can giving into fear get you into trouble? Or what does courage mean? Is it just physical courage, or are there other types of courage? What's an example of a time when you had to choose between courage and fear, and be ready to share an example? We also want to listen with empathy as we're discussing this topic together. Remember to use your active communication skills from lesson 2 and listen with empathy to your child's thoughts and feelings. That's really just going to help the child to develop their own emotional intelligence and encourage them to continue sharing. Avoid the communication blocks as you keep an open, non-judgmental attitude about their thoughts and their feelings. Be careful when they say something that goes against your own value system. Not to judge or criticize, even non-verbally with like a negative facial expression. If you do, you're running the risk of shutting them down and you're limiting your chance to influence their thinking about this. So you could say, hey, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of courage being used like that. Or you must have been frightened when that happened and yet you didn't quit. Or I'm not sure I agree with you about that, but it does give me another way to look at it. And we can share our own values persuasively. So children today are less likely to just automatically accept our values and beliefs just because we tell them. Being a positive influence requires accurate information, sound reasoning, and persuasive arguments. Bringing in an outside resource like a relevant online video or an article or a movie or a book or even a TV show can really help lend weight to your point of view. Sometimes relating a personal experience can create a story in your child's mind that helps them learn an important lesson. The more relevant that you can make your examples to your child's experience, the better chance you're going to have of getting through to them to their core beliefs and values. So you could say, I thought the Natalie character in the movie showed a lot of courage in standing up to her friends who wanted her to cheat on the exam. Or when we don't try because we're afraid we'll fail, we don't even have a chance to succeed. Remember, you get some of what you go for, but you don't get any of what you don't go for. Or to this day, I still have regrets about not trying out for the basketball team. So here are some topics for character talks. Courage is only one of the many possible topics for a character talk. You may want to consider getting your family together for a talk about one of these topics or others that you and your family feel are important, like cooperation, honesty, respect, self-esteem, giving to charity, helping victims of bullies, being a friend, hard work, perseverance, paying it forward. That means doing for other people instead of doing nice things for the people that do nice things for you. Patriotism, healthy habits, volunteering, and having compassion.